Hello, in today's tutorial, we shall be focusing on the newly introduced egg collection model, a pretty significant model for the functionality of our poultry application. This model shall have fields such as the date of collection, the time of collection, the flock that is actually tied to that specific egg collection record, the broken eggs, as well as also the collected eggs. And so, our farm shall be leveraging on this model in order to have accurate production records. And so, without wasting much more time, let's jump straight into PyCharm and explore the implementation of this model. So, over here, you can see we have our egg collection model open and ready for us to explore, and it has these 5 fields. That is a flock as the first one, and it's a foreign key. This means that a particular flock can have several egg collection objects. Basically, this is a one-to-many relationship. Then we have date of collection, the time of collection, the collected eggs, as well as also the broken eggs. I do believe that these are self-explanatory. And by the way, the date of collection as well as the time of collection, all of these are populated by default by Django automatically. As you can see, we have the auto now is equal to true specification over there. Then proceeding down, we have one property that is the picking time. So this method, or maybe this property, shall actually allow us to access the string of morning or afternoon with regards to the time of which the collection was done. Like in this case, you can see we are retrieving the hour and then checking if the hour is less than 12. That basically means that it was the morning. Then we shall be able to determine at what point in time that a collection record was done. And then proceeding down, we have our clean method with several validation checks. So before I even explain this, we shall just head over to our validators.py and see the implementation. So over here in our validators.py, yeah, you can see we have the egg collection validator that actually houses the methods that we shall be using to perform the validation checks. First one being the static method of the validate the flock eligibility. So this method basically validates the flock eligibility with regards to whether if it's a broiler, its age, as well as also the presence. Like in this case, you can see, first up, we check if the chicken type of the flock is not either a layer or a multipurpose. That means that maybe the chicken type was a broiler. We shall raise this egg collection is restricted to layers or multipurpose flocks. And we selected a broiler in that case. And then we also perform the check where if the flock's age in weeks is less than 14, we shall raise this error. I don't know the situation in your country, but then, okay, in my country, flocks of virtually there is no any flock that can lay egg with less than 14 weeks. So that's basically the rationale that we have here, but temporarily you can edit that. And then we have the is present field that basically denotes if the flock is present in the farm or not. Like you can see over here, we're checking if the flock is not present, then we shall be raising the egg collection is allowed only for the flock marked as present. If the flock was not present, like in this case, then you shall raise that error with also the date that the flock was actually marked as not present. A flock can be marked as not present in cases where, for example, all the birds die or maybe the whole flock is sold. So we proceed to the next static method that is a validate a collection records per day. So this one also takes just a single parameter that is a flock object itself. In this case, we are counting the egg collection records for that flock on that very same day. Like you can see, we are performing a filtration based on that very same flock as well as also the date of collection. So we have this today's date over here. So don't be really like surprised about it. It is just like a date object that I have in my utils.py over here. Yeah, so it's nothing big. Okay, so now we're counting the records that are actually retrieved by the filter method of this objects manager. So if the count is either 3 or more than 3, like in this case where if you are supposed to save the egg collection record, that is the 4th egg collection record, it will be now greater than 3, then we shall be raising this error of the data entry for this flock is limited to thrice per day. Please try again at that constructed tomorrow's time. I hope that makes sense to you as well. Yeah, by the way, the egg collection always occur literally most so in many farms, it's always like about 3 times. It could be in the morning, in the afternoon, as well as also maybe in the evening or maybe in the night. So that is basically what we're implementing over here. But this one is also subject to change. If maybe you have 4 regimes of like egg collection, you can as well tweak that. And then we also have this other method, the validate egg collection count. That takes in several parameters, being the flock object itself, the date of collection, the broken eggs, the collected eggs, as well as also the primary key. Okay, so in the first if block over here, we check if the broken eggs are greater than the collected eggs. So this is self-explanatory. If that's the case that is violated, then we shall be raising the broken eggs count. That amount that is actually passed as the broken eggs count cannot be greater than the collected eggs. Okay, and then now we proceed and then we retrieve the live bird count of that flock at that specific point in time. And then we now check the total eggs that are already logged in for that specific day for that flock. Okay, here is the explanation. We filter the egg collection objects for that specific flock for that specific date of collection, excluding the current instance of that flock egg collection object. I'll tell you the reason why we do so. Okay, after excluding that, we now aggregate the sum of the collected eggs of those egg collection objects for that specific flock on that very specific day. So the reason why we do this is because we want to get the amount of eggs that have already been collected with regards to that flock on that specific day. And we don't want to also add the amount of eggs that are currently to be saved. I hope you understand that. Okay, so let's proceed over here. So in this if block over here, we check the amount of eggs that are already been saved. In this case, we store them inside the total collected eggs variable over here, plus the collected eggs. So the collected eggs here is the amount of eggs that are in the current instance to be saved. So we check if the amount that has already been collected on that specific day plus the amount that is to be saved is greater than the number of birds that we have currently in that flock, then it makes no sense. We shall be raising an error, as well as also if the number of birds that we have in that flock minus the total eggs collected, that is the eggs that we retrieved over here, is less than or equal to 0, basically we shall raise this error. I know you might be wondering, by the way, but Peter, why is it that you are actually equating this thing to less than or equal to 0? Basically what this means is that, you see, we've actually excluded the current instance record inside this total collected eggs over here. So what we do is that we ensure that if this calculation over here already returns to 0, then there is no any point of actually adding the egg collection records for that specific flock in that very day, because already this means that the live bird count minus the total eggs, I mean all the birds, it's like they have already laid. I hope that makes sense to you, but if it doesn't really, you can just comment down in the comment section. I'll actually explain that to you. And so that's it for what we have on our validators. So back in our models over here, so those are the methods that we are actually calling in our clean method and then applying them during the save. So that's it for our models.py. So I'll quickly jump into the signals over here. Over here, we do not have anything new, so just go over to the serializers. So in the today's video, we only have just a single serializer over here. I'll just simply erase this because it's not really necessary. I'll rewrite the documentation. So as you can see, in our egg collection serializer, everything is just pretty simple, just like we do for the previous tutorials. It's only the flock field that we are actually having the primary related key. So this basically means that we shall be able to choose the flocks as we are doing the egg collection, or maybe as we are supposed to create an egg collection. It's like the drop-down list or maybe something of that sort. So that's it for our serializers over there. So I shall proceed to the permissions here. So in this tutorial as well, I've also added new permissions down here. So we have this first permission, they can add egg collection. So basically, this is allowed to all the farm staff, that is the farm owner, the farm manager, the assistant farm manager, as well as also the farm worker. I hope that makes sense to you, because each and every person in the farm can actually just go ahead and do the egg collection. Then can they view egg collection permission? Is restricted to only the farm owner as well as also the farm manager. These are production records, so they have to be very secret. So as long as they have already been keyed in, if it's supposed to be viewing and maybe things related to that, it's only the farm management. So same thing applies to the deletion of an egg collection record. It's only applied to the farm owner as well as also the farm manager. So that's it for our permissions.py. So I'll quickly now jump over to the views.py over here. So in our view, we also have now the egg collection view set. So our egg collection view set is actually using the filter set class, so we shall be able to perform some filtering action based on whatever we've employed in our egg collection filter set. So the egg collection filter set is here, where we shall be able to filter the egg collection records in our database based on the flock, based on the month of collection, the week of collection, the day of collection, as well as also the time of collection. So that's it for whatever we have in our egg collection filter set. And then also I've specified these fields, the minus date of collection, the minus time of collection, as well as also the flock. So we shall be able to order the egg collection objects or maybe egg collection records based on these three fields over here. Then these are just the applications of the permissions. So if you don't really understand more about this, you can just head over to the previous tutorials. I've actually explained more about them. But a quick take over them is that if there is a creation action that is supposed to be performed, then we only allow all the farm staff. That is, they can add a collection. If it's supposed to be some sort of a deletion, it's just only the farm managers as well as also the farm owners. And then if it's supposed to be for the view and stuff of that kind, same thing just applies. And then now I've actually disabled the update because there's some sort of there's a complication to do with the updates, but then this is temporarily for now. I'll actually see you on a way on how to implement it. You see, the reason is that this egg collection object is coupled with the egg inventory, meaning that whenever we save an egg collection record, there is another model that shall be depending on the egg collection record that has just been saved to aggregate the sum of the eggs that we have in our farm. So for now, I've actually commented it out, or maybe I've just like disabled the update, but then I will actually decide on how to work it out. For now, let's just leave it at that. And then I've also overridden the list method of this model view set to ensure that if you want to perform the ordering as well as also the filtration, then all that is also possible in this sense. Number one, if the query set does not exist, a query set cannot exist based on two occasions in this our scenario over here. Number one, if the query parameters that are actually provided, like in the case of, let's say you want to perform filtration, but then the query parameters does not actually filter anything from the database, we shall return a HTTP response of the 404 not found with the detailed message, no egg collection records found matching the provided filters. Or maybe if there is nothing that is actually returned, so that also basically will return a null query set. We shall return HTTP response of the status 200 OK with this message, no egg collection records found in the farm yet. And then now, if maybe there's just a query set, because you see we are outside the if block over here, we shall inform our parent serializer over here that sometimes the egg collection records might be multiple records, and then now we specify the main is equal to true. And then we return our response of the serialized data as well as also the status of the HTTP response. So that's it for our views over there. Now, as usual, we shall head over to tests. So inside our test folder over here, we have the poultry, and inside the test folder again, the test views over here. So I'll only just quickly explain just a single method. Okay, now we have this test case over here, test a collection view set. That actually has the setup method over here. So we are availing all the fixtures that we shall be using in our tests. So basically, we have to avail the fixtures of the users because we are also performing the authorization. Then we also avail the egg collection data. So that's what's really happening over here. And then now, the first method over here is for testing an egg collection addition as a farm owner. So we send a post request to this URL over here. If you don't really know more about what the reverse function actually does, so here's a quick take. The reverse function actually resolves the URL in this syntax, where the poultry over here is the app name as I specified in the urls.py over here. And then this is now the base name of our egg collection view set. So basically that is what we are trying to mean here. So this one shall resolve to something like the poultry / egg collection / add, something of that sort, sure. And then we are also sending the request payload with the data, the egg collection data. So if you're wondering where this egg collection data is coming from, it is from the conftest.py over here. So I'll also quickly go through it in the interest of time. So in order to have the egg collection data, several stuff has to happen. Number one, we have to have a house. Of course, in this case, we are saving this house of this kind, the house type, as well as also the category. And then after we save the house, we have to have a flock. Of course, that makes sense. In order for you to collect some eggs, you have to have a flock, and that flock must be in a house. So that's what we are doing over here, and we are saving them. And then now we form a dictionary of the egg collection data. As you can see, we are specifying the flock because our model egg collection expects us to specify the flock, the collected eggs, as well as also the broken eggs. The rest of other fields like the time of collection and the date of collection are done automatically. So then we now pass that dictionary. So basically, that is what is inside here. Then we also send a HTTP authorization token header of the farm owner. And now we check if the response status code is 201 created, meaning that the egg collection record has been saved. And then we also check if it's actually existing. So that's it for this test egg collection view set. I won't really explain much about these others in the interest of time, but then we shall now go ahead and then now play around with these others. So let me just comment these ones out, and then we check if our validation checks actually work. Okay, I've actually commented those ones out, all of them. Let me just check them out quickly. Okay, it's only one, so we shall run the test and then check if it's actually passing. Well, yeah, it's actually passing. It's passed. So what we can do is now try to trick around these ones. Like in this case, we deliberately passed the collected eggs to be 800. Yes, the number of birds in the flock is 400, and see what really happens. If we run that, yeah, you see, the collected eggs count for the day cannot exceed the count of the living birds in the flock. The flock has 400 birds, and the collected eggs today must be 400 or lower. The total collected eggs is 0 today. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So let me just take it back to where it was. Maybe let me give this one as 400. Because that one shall also return an error. Yeah, you can see the broken eggs count 400, that one that we've actually passed, cannot be greater than the collected eggs count, which is 80. So we know that most of our validation checks, if not all, actually work. So I'll just go ahead and run all these other tests. So let me just take them back and comment them out together with the others. I've actually commented them for us to check if our validation checks actually work, like we've just done a couple of seconds ago. So I'll also return these ones as well, and then now run everything. So it's the PyTest. I'll actually run everything throughout all this project. So okay, there are 542 tests, so this will take some time. So I'll just fast forward this and come back after the tests I've actually completed. Alright, so after 10 minutes and 16 seconds, all of our 542 tests have passed, marking the end of this tutorial. So if you find it helpful, please consider subscribing, sharing, and also if you have questions or maybe you have suggestions, don't hesitate to comment that down. I'll gladly respond to you. So until next time, bye bye.